How did you get into the psychic world?
I was born into it. I mean, I was like this as a kid. I mean, I came in this way.
And when did you notice that this is the way, or do you feel that you are a different way than other people?
I always thought everybody should be the same. You know, I can remember as a kid walking around asking people if they didn't see what I saw or heard what I heard, and I couldn't believe they didn't. You know, I can't you see that person standing there? No. But thank God I had a grandmother who had a mother and her brother who were all psychics. You know, we go back 300 years, and then I have a son who's psychic. So, you know, it wasn't a big thing, you know, to my family.
Okay, what is a psychic?
A psychic is someone, I think, that has a power. As you look in the dictionary, it says a power of discernment, but I think they just have the... I think physics tells it better. And Dr. Yarbrough, who used to be head of the Santa Clara University Psychology Department, really, I think, said it best. He said, you're able to quantum leap. In other words, in physics, for some reason, your mind doesn't stay in the groove of the time. In other words, our needle is able to move to different grooves, you know. Mm-hmm. We're not time-bound.
So, like today is December 3rd. Do you feel you're here today, or do you see a world ahead of us?
Oh, sure, I'm always in the present. I'd have to be. But, I mean, now in my predictions, I have to put myself, you know, into the next year.
Let me ask
you know, what's going to happen in the spring, or what's going to happen in the summer, or what's going to happen, you know.
You know, one of the numbers that is becoming, I think, considered, or people are wondering about, is 2012. 2012.
Well, you know, that's so ridiculous. The Mayans ran out of ink. It's nothing. You remember when the year turned 2000, everybody said all the computers are going to blow up, you won't be able to get your money out of the bank and all kinds of stuff? No.
They gave it a name even, Y2K.
Yeah, no. Nothing's going to happen.
So that's the couple of days after, we're going to still have a party.
Absolutely.
That's good. So now you have a new book. I'm happy about that. That's good news. We like good news. It's in the truth about psychics, what's real, what's not, and how to tell the difference. Okay. Well, right. What do you mean, how to tell the difference?
Well, I've been in this. You know, I'm 73. I've been in it 54 years practicing, and I just got so fed up with some of these psychic fairs and people that were doing, you know, with the pointy hats and telling you that you had curses and all the crazy stuff and, you know, gremlins talking to you or whatever the hell it was. And I said, I just can't stand it, because every day, because I have 3 foundations, we get, you know, I have a huge staff, and they always are getting messages on the phone about people feeling that they were cursed, or, you know, there was some psychic told them there's a black cloud over them, or there's a weeping spirit behind them. It's just stuff. It's just crazy. No wonder they think we're nuts.
So it's a bad PR job.
It is. You know, you see all these flashing hands, and, you know, I can read your face, and I can read the sand, and just give it up. Just use what God gave you and do it.
You know, it says here, from pioneers such as the Fox sisters to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, from Harry Houdini to renowned spiritualists, it shows that psychics and spirituality. Actually, I'm a spiritual minister. Actually, interfaith minister, spiritual counselor. Me personally, I believe in a spiritual life and way and being. So you have somebody who is a believer in your thinking here.
Well, yeah, I'm a Gnostic Christian, you know, and I think, you know, and I've always made it simple. You know, I think there's too much dogma. I just say, you know, love God, do the best you can for other people, and then shut up and go home. I just think we have just too much dogma, as if God cares what you eat or dress, or, you know. Because I remember when I was in school, you couldn't wear patent leather shoes and, you know, all that stuff. That's ridiculous. You imagine God sitting up there with a pencil and paper and saying, I just saw that once. You know, I mean, that's... what we've done is made God so humanized. You know, we've given God all the attributes of us, what we are, avarice, greed, jealousy. That can't be for a perfect being. It cannot be.
Hmm. What do you think about the word judgmental? Do you think, I think we have all of us, and I'm sure myself included, we push that judgmental. You know, you physically look at somebody and then you kind of think a whole million things. Or they say one word.
You know what, I judge people that judge.
Oh, there's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I can't stand it. I think, you know, to each his own. I don't care if you're Hindu, Episcopalian, Baptist, be the best you can, you know, and then take with you what you want and leave the rest. That's what I tell my people when I'm giving a lecture.
Do you think we're all brothers and sisters?
Every one of us, all linked.
And that's good news, right, Sylvia?
Absolutely. I call us, I said, you know, we're like golden poppet bees hung around the neck of God. Each one of us is popped together.
That's a beautiful thought. So what are some of the good thoughts that are occurring in your book here that you'd like to share?
Well, I just don't want people to be taken to the cleaners, you know what I mean? And I don't think that there should be any procurement. I hate that. You know, people are always spammed from Madame Zorro, who says, I have a message from you. No, those ought to be directed to the district attorney. Sure, you have to charge or you have to whatever, but what does it do you any good? You know, if you have a reading with me, it's once in a lifetime. That's it. I don't want you coming back. Because you know what that fosters? That fosters groupies, people that are dependent. I want to give people at least some track where, you know, they can follow from their own chart and then let them go. You know, let them be on their own and do good.
When you say a chart, are we talking about a physical chart?
Yeah, because I believe we all write a chart before we come in. I think we all write a chart. It's sort of like for want of a better word, a lesson plan for God. Because I think this is what hell is.
So things like astrology, numerology, palmistry, telepathy, these kinds of things, where do you see them?
Oh, I think there's fun things. I mean, I've been in business long enough that I've studied all of them. You know, numerology and you know, astrology has some merit to it. But you can get, you know, 50 Libras in a room, let's say, and maybe you could say, okay, they all like harmony and balance. After that, you're off and running. I mean, you can go 50 different ways with it.
Very interesting.
No. I have people on the phone saying, I was born July. I said, no, I don't care when you were born. Doesn't matter to me.
What does matter to you?
The soul, and the soul that's on track. And when everybody, and you know what, it just makes me feel so good anymore, is it never happened before. Let's say in the last 20 years, people will ask me, Sylvia, am I on track? Am I doing good spiritually? See, that shows that the world is awakening to something. It used to be, where's Mr. Right? Where's Mrs. Right? Which there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong. But to have somebody come right out and say to you, the first thing out of them, when I say to them, do you have any questions? They say, am I on track? You know, that really makes me feel good, because that shows that they at least have a knowledge of spirituality and where they're going.
I believe it's real good. You know, I think America is one of the countries where spirituality and religion has increased over the years.
I do too, and it used to be where Europe was, you know.
Right.
Because I would go to Europe, and you tell them you're psychic, and it was nothing, you know, Egypt or Turkey or anywhere. I mean, it was just like, you know, I was a shoemaker or a shop girl. It was nothing. Over here, everybody went into this, oh, you got to be from the devil. Not so much anymore. But it used to be, oh, that's the devil's work. And I've often said, even Bible people, did God quit making prophets after the Bible? Well, then did God quit making people that made clothes or weavers or shoemakers or what? You mean at the end of the Bible, nobody could be a prophet anymore? That doesn't even make sense.
I agree with you there. When someone says they're a fortune teller, what does that mean?
I don't like that. I don't like the word fortune teller. You know, that always reminds me of a flashing hand on the front of a storefront.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Or taking a ball and rubbing it and coming up with something?
Yeah. I mean, if you have what you have from God, which I do believe it's from God, and I always pray every morning before I start, please keep Sylvia out of it. I just want to be a tube. You know, then you're going to give well, to give you an example, there was a woman in our area that everybody that went to her, she said they had cancer. Well, guess who had cancer? She did.
Oh, boy.
Too many people read from their own ego, and you can't do that. You got to separate yourself from that.
Mm-hmm. There's a good quote in the subway system right now about man's slash woman's only view of the world is what they see within only themselves. Period.
That's right. That's right.
Afterlife. Is it a good place to be?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I wrote a book, about the, life on the other side, was because I got so many people in astral projection and in regression therapy, because I did so much of that, even with psychologists. And every single person, whether they were Hindu or Episcopalian, Baptist, when they died, let's say in a past life, every single person saw the same thing. Not just in death and dying, but also in dreams and astral projection. Now, after a while, you've got to sit up and take notice. You can't say everybody's got deprivation of oxygen and everybody's got some big imagination ball in the sky.
And how's religion fit into afterlife? I know you write about it in your book, The Truth About Psychics.
I think religion is fine. I think to be religionistic is not fine, because then you get too dogmatic, I say to people, whatever church you belong to is fine. But I think a lot of times you just have to take what you want and leave the rest.
Okay. Last question here. How about our past lives? How do we know how do we know that we had one? Or do we?
Because there's too many people that know things that they don't know how they know. Beethoven, playing the piano at 3 and composing, or somebody comes in and knows the tremendous mathematics. Sure, you could say they're savants or whatever, but there's, even in my own life, there's things that I've known that I haven't had any knowledge of how I know. For instance, I'm really, really good on health, and you can look at my background. I have nothing to do with medical, and yet I have a slew of doctors that call me for diagnosis, and Sylvia, I've got this person here, and could you tell me what's wrong, And I know that comes from God. That doesn't come from me. I don't have any. My whole thing was in English literature and religion.
You're a beautiful person, Sylvia. Last question. What's good news for you?
Oh, I'm just going to thank God, I'm just going to keep on keeping on. That's the main thing I want.
I love you. You're fantastic. Sylvia, it's a real honor to get to speak with you always.
I love you too, sweetheart.
I look forward to meeting you personally at a later moment. We're here in New York. I don't know where you're located physically, but
San Jose, California.
Okay. Well, if you hit New York, or if I get out that way, I want to stop in and say hello, and I welcome you to do the same.
Okay, sweetheart. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sylvia. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.